So, I've been getting told I need to document this on YouTube. So, I figured what better place to start than when I'm done with all the hard stuff. This is my 98XJ. I got it 6 months ago. Frame was broken, had like no floors in it. As you can see, we poorly welded in some 18 gauge for floors, front to rear. We'll go over that. I'll take better videos of all that. But yeah, pretty much back to front, new floors. This has all been rebuilt, so it still seals the hatch. Bumper, I wanted it tucked up higher than the stock bumper, and all the bumper mounts had rusted off. Like I said, half the frame's been replaced at this point. So I just kind of threw some metal on it and went from there. Oh, well, you can see it. The whole frame has a Unibody Reinforcement Kit, front to rear. It was a New York vehicle when I got it, so it's rusty. I need to patch all the doors or find new ones, little stuff like that. It's dual triangulated 4-link. The front's not even started yet. It's all chopped currently for what it has, but the other day started tearing into the front end to check some pulleys and decided that it needs most of the front end parts. I'm going to pull the oil pan today. I got a new one coming tomorrow, new motor mounts, little piddly stuff like that. So when this tank's out, when this pan is out, I'm going to build a skid plate mocked up on this one, and I'll put it on the new one when it gets here. But cleaning up a bunch of wiring in here while I'm at it, because as you can see, this side's been gone through, this side has yet to. Kind of just going to play it by ear. Oh, let's see, so far, not a whole lot like extra done aside from the 4-link. Just a lot of weight reduction and parts I don't actually need. Cruise control's gone. I don't even know what all I've pulled out of it. Battery's getting put in the back. There's a bracket back there. It's got a slip yoke eliminator. It has a 5.5-inch front lift. Not a whole lot done in the rear. Well, not an actual lift done in the rear. It's got 1-ton steering down there. I don't know how well you can see it. I'm in my little apartment garage right now, so I'm not going to have very good good lighting or insulation or anything, and it's snowing, so it is what it is. Going toward the inside, not how well you'll be able to see it, but the floor is all bedlined black. Got the dash tore apart, and like I said, I'll do better videos on little parts as we get there. As for the battery mounts, and my fuel tank's going to mount next to it. Not really the safest thing ever, but a lot of this stuff's just temporary because I'm fixing to leave New York and go back to Wyoming in the next few months. So I didn't need everything to be permanent, I just needed it to be functional. Wheel wells are slid back because I stretched it in the rear roughly 6 inches. It's got an Ironman 4x4 fab truss in the rear, all the links and everything I got from Rough Stuff, and I fabricated the 4-link cross member underneath there. So that's all done. Underneath it's a lot cleaner than it was when I started. I'll post pictures in here of all the rust that's been knocked off of it. But yeah, today we're going to go through, pull the oil pan, and then see what we can build for a skid plate for the oil pan. I've got my little homemade press brake for my 20-ton Harbor Freight press. We'll see what I can do with that, and maybe some 1/8 inch, and build a skid plate for it. So I will get back to you after I got the pan out. Alright, here's a better look at the 4-link crossmember I built. But panning back to what we're doing, I disconnected the transcooler lines because I got new ones on their way. Should be here tomorrow with the oil pan. I dropped this pan. Like I said, I've got a new pan on the way. Just kind of letting the bottom of the pickup and everything drain a little bit. It's a little ugly down there, but I think it's a little overdue for an oil change. So we'll get her changed, get the new pan put on, and check the oil in a few hundred miles and see how it's going. But I can't see anything alarming right off the bat. The cam lobes look decent from what I can see, and doesn't look like super excessive wear for 220 or 30,000 miles that are on it. So I'm gonna run it the way it is. And I just got my email that I've been sponsored by Mishimoto for the Jeep build, so it'll have good cooling and everything. So we'll try to keep it together as long as we can. Whenever it comes apart, we'll look into stroker kits or things like that. So next, I'll probably time-lapse me getting this pan out all the way, getting the bottom of the pickup cleaned off, or putting a pan underneath it, whatever I decided to do. And then I'm going to start looking at building a skid plate for the belly, because it hangs pretty low compared to everything else, and I'd like to tie in that skid plate into the trans cross member. So maybe have it all bolt together or something, weld onto the trans pan, or weld onto the oil pan, and then bolt together underneath the transmission, and bolt onto this or weld onto that, and have it in pieces so it comes out with the belly's protected. So as you can see up front, for suspension, there's not a lot done. Don't mind the ugly floors that we put together with a sheet of 18 gauge, but the front is not even close to done. This is just a rough country kit the Jeep came on. I put some 5.5-inch springs in it. Like I said, 1-ton steering. I did rebuild the front end as for ball joints, wheel bearings, all that, but I believe these axles are temporary, so I'm probably just going to build the 4-link off of it while I build some 1/2-ton axles for it and go from there. It's going to end up with a long arm kit, so probably 4-foot bars like the rear has, and I want to push the axle to where I almost have a 90-degree approach angle. So yeah, we'll get all this tore out, and we'll get some sheet metal bent and see what I can build for a skid plate for at least the oil pan. Maybe even we'll get the trans pan skid on. But this is what we got for now. Alright, well, beginning of the skid plate is done. There's the rough cutout. Yeah. That's why I like working with metal over wood, because I can overcut and fix it, you know, measure kinda, and then cut 7 times. But no, it fits pretty good. As for this hump, I have to snap it in place, so I'm not going to put it back in. I'm going to take the piece of 14 that I cut off of this, I'm going to put a little bend in it, and then cut out this shape. Probably going to end it just before the drain plug, just after the drain plug. Either way, it'll just give me a place to drain it. But either way, I'm going to raise it up just a touch, get that piece bent, put on, weld on my seams, grind it down, paint it, set this oil pan back on, probably put a couple bolts in it, so I can jack the motor off this tomorrow to put motor mounts in. So, XJ skid plate for the motor. It ain't, like I said, it's nothing heavy duty or anything, because it's only 14 gauge, but by the time I weld it and all the bends and everything together, it makes it fairly safe. It doesn't take bends very well, so it is what it is. But get this finished welded and then move on to the next part. I'm probably just gonna be putting some fluid in the diff and then see what else I can muster up for the day. But so now we're up to I know it's crude, but I don't really care how pretty it is, because I'm probably going to smash it on something anyway. But we are ready to finish weld all the creases, weld all this together, and see where it takes us. And then we'll be getting this oil pan set back in place, keep the bottom of the motor clean, and then probably raise it up with a jack so I can loosen up the motor mounts, so tomorrow I can slap the new ones in and get the new pan on, get it all welded together. Oh, look at that 4-link that got going on back here. The coil buckets are temporary. I mean, it's really just to see how well the suspension works, and then I'll either build more onto the truss, run air shocks on this axle until I get the front done, or just hold off until I get my new axles put in it. But for right now, motor stuff before more suspension stuff. So, gonna get it all welded up, and then I'll show it to you afterward. Alright, sorry if it's noisy, I had to turn the heater on for a few minutes. Avoid looking at the welds. I had my settings a little too high at the beginning, so it has a little here and there, but it's gonna do what I need it to do. It don't look pretty, but it works, it's functional. I'm not gonna weld the back sides back over here until it's on the new oil pan, so I know exactly how that angle needs to be. This one got some shitty coating on it, it's like rubberized, and I don't want to build the whole pan or the whole skid plate around this pan when I've got a new one on the way. If it was going on this pan, obviously do it all for this pan, but that's the gist of the skid plate. We will go from there. Let's get this oil pan back on and see if we can get it jacked up to enough where we can get the motor mounts loosened. And then pretty much be wrapped up for today. Might put a little gear oil in the diff, but that's nothing fancy enough to show on here. So, alright, get to it.